For 2.5 decades, a quiet spot in Albany, New York, has been hiding a secret so tragic that even the most experienced sleuths found it hard to grasp its severity. In 1997, in the heart of Washington Park, where spring festivals, family gatherings, and afternoon strolls were the norm, park officials chanced upon a scene so macabre that it would plague the nation 2.5 decades later: the charred bones of a newborn infant lying isolated in a patch of grass. No one witnessed it, nor was there a report of a missing person, only a moniker dictated by strangers, Baby Moses, and in question whose answer would not linger with the passage of time. Who would commit so heinous a deed, and who would live 27 long years clutching this secret? It is what makes this particular case so frightening. The guilty party did not flee into the darkness, but established a home, a family, and a Sunday routine of going off to her job every day, living a completely anonymous life while the truth lay buried until the fateful morning of 2024. This narrative is not rumor, not guesswork, not conspiracy theory from the web. All of this information comes directly from official police files and transcripts of police interrogations within the Albany Police Department. This narrative represents how the power of DNA evidence was able to solve a cold case that simply would not have been possible in the 1990s, and how, in this case, patience, psychological manipulation, and scientific inquiry led to the exposure of what happened to baby Moses. The initial contact of the Albany Police Department in a Dunkin' Donuts parking lot with a completely innocent woman to the ultimate confession of the guilty party. This narrative makes us grapple with difficult questions of what it means to live in a world where fear, secrets, and accountability for crimes are not only real, but very real indeed. 27 years of questions in Albany would soon be answered in ways that would shock this entire community. The case of baby Moses remained a cold file deep within the Albany Police Department for close to 3 decades. It all began on September 7, 1997, when 3 employees of the Parks Department reported to Washington Park around the time the sun rose to begin their routine duties. To their surprise, they discovered a newborn baby lying lifelessly in the grass, with the lower portion covered in charred blue fabric. Rescue teams immediately reported to the site, only to confirm that the baby was no longer alive. They soon discovered that the infant had been left there to die, and that an attempt to set him ablaze had been made. Since there were neither witnesses nor CCTV cameras to confirm the event, nor a missing person S-file, the case remained stalled almost instantly. The police gave the child the name Baby Moses Washington as a connotation that one day someone would come forward to give the child a proper burial and give justice to the grave injustice that had been perpetrated against the innocent life. Years turned into decades, with the community paying their respects to the life that had been lost, all in vain, as the identity and family of the child remained a mystery. Technology at the time was not developed well enough to give the police clues to the identity and origin of the baby, and the case went cold, though not forgotten. For the next 27 years, law enforcement was left with this question that had no answer. They analyzed old evidence, re-interviewed witnesses, and searched for a connection that might just allow them to find the baby's relatives. However, since there was not effective DNA technology available until the late 1990s, they were left with nowhere to turn until forensic genealogy emerged as an effective tool for solving crimes that had long since gone cold in the 2010s. Through uploading an unknown body's DNA to a genealogical database, law enforcement agencies were able to trace a family history and isolate leads whose direct relatives had never suspected a connection to a crime being committed. Albany law enforcement realized that it was finally time to turn over this rock again. After painstakingly reconnecting pieces of a genetic puzzle that had long since gone bone dry, law enforcement was finally able to trace a genetic trail that led them to a particular family in New York State. They knew exactly how they had to proceed. This was not an investigation that was concerned with pointing fingers of blame. This was a mission of discovery that had waited 27 long years for an answer. So on a typical September morning of 2024, law enforcement finally made their move on a woman named Carrie Mazuka. That would bring this long story to a close. Carrie Mazuka woke up early in the morning of September 6th, 2024, and was sitting in her car in a parking lot of a Dunkin' Donuts in Guilderland, New York, when state troopers walked up to her car. This seemed to be an ordinary and peaceful event. She answered the troopers' questions calmly and curtly, looking confused. The police reassured her that she was auntie being arrested and would soon be able to explain everything. At the Albany Police Department, detectives started with small talk, inquiring about her family and her children. She mentioned to them that she had 2 kids and had never been pregnant with any other child. When they informed her that her family's DNA had been traced to an unknown remains case in 1997, her reaction altered completely. She seemed disturbed, uncomfortably, and overwhelmed. When they showed her where her baby had been found, Carrie physically became ill. Nevertheless, she still denied any knowledge about what they said. For nearly an hour, she denied everything, still looking innocent with detectives patiently working through, ultimately understanding that the truth will take time to unravel. However, as the interrogation continued, the detectives changed their method of questioning. They told the reality of DNA evidence and what happens to those who lie in cases like this. They spoke in calm but assertive terms, assuring Carrie that the truth will be revealed anyway. And then came the turning point, when the detectives asked Carrie to think about how it would look if the mother of the baby denied having ever been pregnant. In spite of the irrefutable evidence against her, there was a breaking point in Carrie. In this moment of tremendous emotional pain, she blurted out in shock, "I did it." Silence filled the room. Then there was a series of horrifying confessions. Carrie admitted that she had secretly given birth alone in the bathtub in 1997. Panicked, she had choked the life out of the child. Then, she had thrown the child's body in Washington Park. At first, she tried to downplay what she had done, but the detectives showed her irrefutable medical evidence that the child had been alive. Slowly but deliberately, horrifyingly, Carrie told the complete truth that she knowingly killed the child she was pregnant with, and had made an attempt to hide the crime by burning a towel on fire while it was still wrapped around the child. Days after the interview, the police allowed Carrie to go back home, and they continued their investigation in secrecy. Unbeknownst to her, they were monitoring her activities and got more evidence against her. Later, she was arrested and indicted on charges of manslaughter, evidence tampering of a physical nature, and concealment of a corpse. In the courtroom, the prosecution gave an account of the life of the infant, saying that it was only filled with agony. Later, she pleaded guilty and accepted her punishment. In April of 2025, she received her sentence of 25 years in jail, followed by 5 years of post-release supervised release. When sentencing her, the judge stated that the title "Baby Moses" shall never be eradicated, since the police officers had more love for the child than the mother who gave birth to it. 27 years later, the mystery of Baby Moses was resolved. When justice came, it came in clear terms. Baby Moses had his mystery solved, and the legend of his life shall never be undone. If you have managed to make it to the end of this story, take a second to remember Baby Moses a headline. Yes, but more a case file, yet most particularly a life. This story is hard to listen to, yet these stories have to be told so that these victims aren't left in the darkness forever. If you believe that these stories have the right to be told in fact, with care and with respect, take just a second to help out this channel. Like this video so that more people hear this story, so that others who believe in justice as much as I do will hear this story, and also leave me a comment with what you think. I know that these videos are on just comments or videos for me. They help ensure that these stories aren't pushed back into the silence of time. And if you believe these stories should be told, make sure to subscribe to this channel so that more people know what really happened in these true crime stories.